Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever stumbled upon an old book, maybe a forgotten poem, or even just heard a title that, sparks some curiosity?
Oh, definitely. That feeling of finding something hidden.
Right, like a little hidden gem just waiting there.
Exactly. A piece of history or maybe just a viewpoint you didn't know was out there.
Yeah, there are just so many stories, aren't there? Tucked away, maybe out of print, or just overshadowed by all the new stuff coming out constantly.
Hmm.
And that whole idea brings us straight to our deep dive today. We're exploring this website, and its mission statement really captures that feeling, bringing lost stories to light.
That's a strong mission.
Yeah.
It suggests, a real deliberate effort to find and reintroduce things that might otherwise just fade.
It really does. The site's called the Windy Valley Digest.
Hmm.
And our mission here, well, it's to be your guide, basically. See what they found.
Yeah.
We've looked at excerpts from across their site, pages on book series, fables and folktales, their podcast index, poetry, short stories, and the video index, too. So we're going to try and figure out what kinds of stories they think are lost, what this collection actually offers you, and, well, where you can find these rediscovered tales.
Wonderful. So looking at the source material, the first thing you notice is how they've organized it all. Pretty familiar category.
It's easier to navigate, right?
Yeah, exactly. It makes this big idea of lost stories feel more approachable. You've got your main sections clearly laid out: book series, fables and folktales, poetry, short stories, videos, and podcasts.
It's a good, clear structure. And what's kind of fascinating is just the breadth of it all, the sheer amount they've gathered.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just looking at the counts they list for some categories gives you a sense of scale. Like 12 short stories listed,
10 pieces of poetry,
9 items under something called country sites for little folks.
8 fables and folktales, 9 videos total, and 4 podcast items.
Yeah, and they even drill down into more specific things like Bernard Treves boots or Christmas specials.
That volume, it really shows this isn't just some small side project. It feels like a significant ongoing effort.
Definitely ongoing.
Yeah.
And speaking of ongoing, that recent posts section really caught my eye.
Ah, yes. It popped up consistently across the pages we looked at.
Yeah, it gives you a little snapshot of what they're actively working on, what they're adding.
Right. And the dates are interesting, too.
Totally. You see A White Heron by Sarah Orne Jewett, posted January 2025. That's very recent.
Mm-hmm. Then back a bit to A Kingdom Divided by Vincent Cowley in July 2024.
But then you jump back further to May and April 2023 for pieces by A.A. Milne and Howard Roger Barris.
So that mix of dates and authors, too, it suggests they're bringing different kinds of stories to light,
Yeah, it's not just super old texts.
Right. It could be newer works that just fit their theme, like that Kingdom Divided piece sounds maybe more recent, alongside older classics and maybe some lesser-known stuff by famous names.
That blend feels key. So let's dive into some specifics. Maybe start with the short stories, because some of those titles are just, well, they grab you.
Okay. Yeah, you see things like The Ugly Duckling, which everyone knows.
Right, a total classic.
But then right next to it, titles that sound much more like old folk explanations for things.
Like Why Mr. Snake Cannot Wink.
Exactly. Or Why Unc' Billy Possum Plays Dead. These are great examples of what people sometimes call pourquoi stories.
Ah, the why stories.
Yeah, tales that explain how something in nature or, some custom came to be. Revisiting those is like opening a window onto how people made sense of the world before modern science took over everything, through stories and imagination.
It's a different way of explaining things, isn't it? But they also have more conventional literary stories, too.
Definitely. Like A White Heron by Sarah Orne Jewett.
Oh, that's a fantastic one. Beautifully written piece about a young girl sort of caught between her connection to nature and, well, human expectations or approval.
And that central choice she faces, loyalty to nature versus, human society. That feels incredibly relevant even now.
It really does. And then there's A Kingdom Divided. The description mentions sisters, ambition, conflict, but also reconciliation and unity.
Sounds like it tackles some pretty timeless human relationship stuff. And maybe societal dynamics, too.
Which just reinforces the idea that these lost stories, they aren't just dusty artifacts, right?
Not at all. They often explore themes that hit just as hard today.
Okay, so moving over to their dedicated fables and folktales section. Again, you see some we'd probably recognize, like The Lion and the Mouse or The Little Red Hen.
And classics, yeah. But then there are more unusual ones listed, too, like The Palace of Truth or Why Lightning Sometimes Strikes.
Right, and that one, Why the Eagle Defends Americans. That title alone makes you immediately curious.
It really does. You wonder about the historical context or the cultural background for a story like that.
It adds layers, doesn't it, to how symbols and maybe national identity get woven into narratives.
Absolutely. And this exploration of different forms, it carries right over into the poetry section as well.
Yeah, that collection looked pretty diverse too, ranging from seasonal stuff like a snowman or spring morning.
To more introspective or even spiritual themes like solitude, child's faith, Christ the Lord is risen today.
What stood out to me there was seeing A. A. Milne listed.
Ah,
Yeah.
yes. Famous for Winnie the Pooh, of course.
And they have two poems by him, Spring Morning and Solitude.
Which raises a pretty interesting question, I think.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean for a poem by someone as well-known as Milne to be considered lost or needing to be brought to light?
Good point. Is it just that these specific poems are less popular than Pooh?
Or maybe it speaks to how even really famous creators have, huge bodies of work, and the mainstream only remembers a fraction of it.
That makes sense. So lost doesn't always mean totally obscure.
Right. Sometimes it just means less seen or less circulated, maybe, than other things by the same person.
And this whole curation effort, it's not just limited to text on a page, is it? They're bringing these stories out in other ways, too.
Precisely. They list country sites for little folks as a book series, and it also shows up as its own category with 9 items.
Suggesting maybe they're serializing it or presenting it in parts?
Could.
Yeah.
And they explicitly list video series, too,
Yeah.
like The Adventures of Tom Sawyer and Old Christmas, with 9 items total in the main videos category.
Adapting older stories into video. That's a fantastic way to make them accessible, isn't it?
Definitely. Especially for younger viewers, maybe, who might not pick up the original book.
And they haven't stopped at video either. They've also got audio with podcasts.
Yes, that podcast index lists some intriguing titles. Bernard Treves' Boots, a Halloween special 2021, and a Christmas special 2021.
With 4 items total in that category, it shows they're trying different audio formats too.
Yeah, whether that's readings or maybe adaptations or discussions is another way to deliver these stories.
Okay, so you've got this actively curated collection. It spans short stories, fables, poetry, some longer series.
And presented across text, video, and audio.
So how does someone listening right now actually access this treasure trove of lost stories?
Well, the Windy Valley Digest seems to make it pretty straightforward. They explicitly link out to their other platforms beyond just the main website.
Okay.
You can find the Windy Valley Bookshelf on both Rumble and YouTube.
Ah, so that's probably where the video adaptations and maybe some audio versions live.
Seems likely.
Yeah.
And they also mention having a presence on Facebook as the Windy Valley Digest on Facebook.
Right. So basically, whether you prefer reading or watching or listening and whichever platform you tend to use.
They seem to have covered the bases, offering ways for you to discover these stories.
Yeah, and if we connect that back to their whole mission, making the stories available across multiple easy-to-reach platforms is pretty central to actually bringing them to light, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's not enough to just, collect them in one place. They have to be put where people can actually find them and engage with them.
So it really functions like a curated digital library dedicated to giving these older or maybe just lesser known works a new lease on life.
Yeah. It seems perfect for you if you're looking to discover something new or maybe revisit an old favorite, but in a different format, perhaps.
Or even just appreciate the value in preserving these different storytelling traditions.
And what's truly fascinating here, I think, is considering how revisiting these older stories, doesn't matter the format, fable, poem, short story, how they can offer really fresh perspectives on, well, timeless human experiences.
We touched on some themes already, right? Nature, conflict, choices.
Even the quiet joy you find in A. Milne's work, or that deep connection to the rural world in Sarah Orne Jewett.
It really makes you wonder, how do these tales, crafted in different times with maybe different sensibilities, how do they still manage to speak to us so directly today?
Yeah, what can we still learn from their messages? Maybe their less hurried pace sometimes, or just their unique narrative styles that feel different from a lot of modern storytelling.
Maybe they distill complex ideas down to their essence somehow.
Could be. Offering insights that feel universal. There's often a richness in their simplicity, maybe, and a depth in how they connect to just fundamental human stuff that, transcends whatever era they were written in.
Absolutely. So if this deep dive into the Windy Valley Digest has sparked your curiosity at all, our invitation to you is pretty simple, really. Take a moment, check out the Windy Valley Digest on whatever platform works best for you. Their website, Rumble, YouTube, Facebook.
Find a story that catches your eye.
Yeah, something that feels a little lost to you, and just see what light it brings.